celebrate Dasai like family-wise here.
Oh right, you don't either. Wait, do you celebrate Losar?
Yeah, I think Losar is our festival.
Yeah, that's only New Year though. We don't have
Is it
like
like
a lot of other.
if you have your periods during Losar, can you still like be a part of it, or
Yeah.
is there anything like that?
Yeah.
I've never been told, oh, you can't enter a monastery or go to this holy event just because you have your period. Or no one's even asked me if I have had my period, so they don't even know.
That's so nice.
It's like the whole world knows when we get our periods, especially during like Dasai Tihar and someone's wedding or like a big religious festival.
If it's your own wedding, you're supposed to delay it apparently, like with like pills and stuff.
Huh?
Because you can't do your wedding if you're on your periods, literally.
That's so bad.
Why?
No, but even like a lot of people do take like, medicines before Dasai Tihar if their cycle's about to come, just so that they can celebrate it. And it really affects your body because the next time you have your periods, you start bleeding a lot. It hurts more. It affects your whole reproductive system. So it's just wrong.
What kind of medicine? Do you know what kind of medicine it is?
I forgot the name.
I think it's
Does anyone know the name?
One of my friend's auntie, she used to take that emergency after pill and apparently it delayed her periods, but I'm not too sure.
yeah. So the pills that you take for delaying your periods normally for all these festivals are different from the emergency after pills. The emergency after pills any is for when you have unprotected sex or whatever, your contraceptives didn't work. So, but the contraceptive medicine which you use to delay your periods is something different. But it's easily available over the counter here. I doubt people even take a prescription to like use it.
But for your wedding, why do they say you have to delay it?
Like all the rituals, a girl can't participate in the rituals, so she can't have her period.
Oh.
Yeah, but I think more importantly, it's about the fact that, Hindus think that a woman is impure when she has her periods. So when like wedding is such a big deal, it's like the biggest ceremony in your life, according to our religion, and you're having your periods, that's where the whole idea comes from, I feel.
But can't someone just like lie and say, I don't have my period?
People can and people do, I'm sure, but it's so
Yeah.
ingrained. I mean, त्यो जुन पाप लाग्छ भन्ने जुन त्यो mentality हुन्छ नि आफै भित्र. Sometimes we have so much of like patriarchal norms within us. It's difficult to like come out of it by yourself. And I think that's what happens when when especially periods kukurama, when you go to like temples, like if anything wrong happens after that, you're associating everything with that, okay, with everything, with having done some taboo or some superstitious activity. And it just messes up with your head, and it just, I think it affects people's mental health a lot also, okay? People don't talk about it in terms of how much it affects their mental health, but that constant thing to constantly think, Abhi, yo maile yesto gare now, oh my god, is this going to happen? Did this happen because of that? It just puts a lot of pressure, I think.
Yeah. Do you guys also believe in that though? That Pap Lakta, if you do something with your period?
Not personally, but I have like really educated family members, relatives who do.
Yeah, also for me, it was, before Pat to go, I just didn't think of it as so seriously, okay, in this level. So it wasn't like I did it purposely, but I did not really think la pap lakta or taspachi ke. But now when a lot of people ask you, because since you're in this field, how can you still believe in these things? And I try not to, but again, like Jaslina mentioned, because that's how we grew up. About the I go to the temple during my periods, I push myself, and then rati aera la malai ke bhayo bhani and things like that. It's how we grew up. So I think this really taught us also, like when we go talk to a lot of other people about periods, mahinawari ko belama, and कहिले perspective change गर्ने गाह्रो हुन्छ के. अब
Mhm.
उनीहरू हामी यसरी नै हुर्केको especially the older generation it's harder because again for them that's how they grew up at least we have a broader aspect to a lot of things we have the internet to हुन्छ नि go through talk to different people we have I think the world is more connected now before rather than before so it has made a difference
Yeah.
Our things in like Justina and Shibangi would like relate, but like things in boarding school, like our things.
I think mine and Shubhangi's, I think will be different because Mero boarding school ma, although like considered a secular
Also,
school, had like Christian teachers as a Christian woman as our principal and stuff like that. It still had a mandir, ke? अनि त्यसमा चाहिँ नि त्यो मन्दिरमा चाहिँ नि what was really interesting to see was that even the teachers would be asking you, irrespective if you're a Hindu or not, people would go to the mandir to pray. And there would be people from like
mm.
Christians and Muslim students would be going to the mandir just to like sit and listen to the prayers or something like that. But I what was really like interesting was त्यो बेलादेखि हामीलाई सोध्थ्यो कि if you're on your periods, please sit outside भनेर. And there would be students sitting outside. And I think like it was very violative, one, of our privacy, and second also of ingraining that norm from the through level like class 4 को students are like देखिन सोधेर त्यस्तो गर्न I think that was something wrong and I don't think that should happen
Yeah.
because educative institutions मा चाहिँ नि. What about you, Shubhangi? What was your boarding school experience with this?
So rather than boarding school किनभने boarding school त I went in 11th 12th grade and I had really good group of friends and like periods never hindered me especially झन् हाम्रो त periods भएर केही गरिकन if it was like if there was a stain on our skirts we could go back to the hostel and change our skirts and wash it or even like the DDs who would help us out in our dorms were
IIG.
really nice. Yeah, IIGs. Like people wouldn't understand, so I said DDs. So they were really nice and they would help us out and so it wasn't a big deal. But in school, when we did have our first periods, a lot of us had our first periods in 5th and 6th grade. Okay? And Teti Bella, I saw the difference in my classmates, especially boys, obviously, because they used to tease us. And so we were quite a naughty group of friends in grade 6. And there was this other naughty guy who used to call us whisper girls. So we were like, we told the teacher that he's calling us whisper girls because we're using pads. And he's such a loser. He said, Haina, they whisper all the time. They bitch about me. That's why I'm calling whisper girls. It's just that, I had a good group of friends and we just like stood up. But then that does not really happen all the time. Like we made fun of it. We still talk about that incident. But then a lot of times it really affects our dignity. It really affects our mental health.
Yeah.
And I think the whole staining part, okay, like, during your periods, you can't wear white. I still don't wear white. And it's just like, class ma pani, it's like, like, is there something on my skirt? Uthera la ki bhayo, and things like that was just.
And that
Yeah.
part is actually interesting. I don't know how many of you were in co-ed schools or if any of you are in oh yeah, Dechan and Jofin, you both are in like all women colleges, right? And I was in an all girls school all my life. And interestingly, त्यो staining ko kura was never shunned, okay? Because it was like, oh, you've stained. Do you want a pad? Oh, you've stained. Maybe you should go back to your dormitory and change. भन्ने जस्तो कुरा. I guess it was more acceptable, but like staining in all kokura it was accepted because everyone around you will have had that experience. But your religion and like abiding by certain norms ko कुरा ma चाहिँ नि, it was just like in terms of religion khali त्यो temple ma enter गर्ने ko लागि मात्र it was like an issue. But I think later on people like stopped giving a shit and started going. I know I did, so I'm sure other people also did.
How
No.
was it in Bangladesh, Jofin, like the whole periods scenario? We did have a talk, Ostine,
I think
just
it's
from your perspective.
yeah. So in Bangladesh, it's more the society is more conservative than Nepal. So obviously the scenario for period is worse because they don't even talk about it, and a lot of women don't have access to pads, and they don't have idea about what pads are even.
Coming back to the topic, so Dasai and periods. I know it personally has impacted me a lot since I've been a child, you know. What about you guys? Like, let's start off with people who celebrate Dasai, people who don't celebrate Dasai, and people who don't have menstruation. menstruation and do celebrate Dasai here. So I think it's a very diverse crowd. So maybe we can start off with everyone perspectives.
Well, I just ended my period like couple of days ago, and I wish I didn't felt so relieved when I got my periods. It's like, aha, भयो सक्यो दसैँ मनाउन पाउँछ, and I hate that. I hate, like, because when I was a kid, I got it like right on the day of Ghatasthapana, you know, and I had to like sit down, and my baby cousin was coming up and asking me, hey, why aren't you like puja kina nagariराख्नु भयो? Why aren't you participating? And I didn't know how to answer to her because my family does not is not, is not really open about topics of menstruation, and she's like 1 class 2 class, so I didn't know how to explain it to her at all.
So for me personally, मलाई पनि एकदमै like anxiety नै हुन्थ्यो कि सानो हुँदा त literally like I'm someone who gets very nervous about things and I overthink things at times. And I remember because I was in boarding school and there were only a few years that I had come back for Dosenki. And it's such a momentous time. And I don't know, you want to be with your family. And just the thought of it, like, la bhoyo bhane, I won't get to celebrate, I won't get to meet my cousins, I won't get to, daksina paundaina. All those things were just like, are just in the back of your head. And even as I grew up, I'm less religious than I used to be. And I think Teipani, it's still in the back of your mind, okay? Because like, I don't know, when you're when you're like committing pap as as they say it, like if you're on your periods and you go and celebrate a daseko thing, or like it's aru कसैको like ceremony भयो भने the pap is like आफूमा मात्रै होइन अरूलाई पनि गरिरह हो कि भन्ने कुरा जस्तो कि, and all these things play into your mind. And I don't know, like sometimes you just can't even have fun, okay? Like if your periods are happening. But yeah, but I've slowly started to let go. And a couple of last year, before last to last year, I did have my periods. I think one day I did have my periods, and there are a lot of occasions even right now that I do have my periods during religious festivals. And I just go ahead with it. I'm like, it has to start somewhere, and it has to start with yourself.
I mean, like I was kind of thinking like about yeah, festivals जुठो लाग्छ and all, like whatever, like हुन्छ नि अब like there are like about do's and don'ts maybe, but like I was kind of thinking like about animals, like when we're talking about mammals, specifically about, because like I had also like I had a female cocker spaniel, and like about it used to also get heat, अब उसलाई त कहिले कसले थुन्दैन थियो नि, like that way. Or or monkeys of हाम्रो like really relative ancestors, or पशुपतिमा त टन्नै छ होइन. So I mean, like where's that, like हुन्छ नि. So like I mean, our mind is like, mentality is completely like हुन्छ नि like pretty low, like I would say.
Pretty good point, yeah.
Yeah.
We're more like animals in that sense, like not
Yeah.
thinking straight. Yeah, so coming back to so when I was a kid, I used to live in a joint family, and so my sister and I, दसैँ आउने बित्तिकै the most important thing would be like, what are you wearing? How would you like to like dress up your hair and things like that. And then again, this following question would be, la, what about our periods? Are we gonna have our periods soon? दसैँको अगाडि periods हुन्छ कि, or like हुन्छ नि दसैँ हुँदैन कि, and things like that, even though I never had my periods. And then and now when I try to change myself, like even I'm trying to push myself and like get out of my comfort zone in terms of periods and all the social taboos. But like Sukriti said, so to दसैँ कहिले हो भनेर, when I found out, I just like checked my calendar, okay, like to see when I'm gonna have my periods. It was so subconscious that I realized right after that it's fine even if I get my periods. But then it's so deeply engraved in my mind, that's when I realized it. And it will be very difficult to change it for a lot of people, especially in Nepal mate. So we need to like start working, and especially like hamro field mata jhane, when people are so stubborn about their perspectives. So I think we as a society try to suppress women or marginalized genders, because भगवान चाहिँ केही हुँदैन होइन पिरियड्सको बेलामा. Even like in India we worship Kamaru Kamakshi, and even when she bleeds the tika चाहिँ is put on our foreheads. And that is pure, that is a blessing. But again, a woman or a menstruating individual is bleeding, that's impure. I think that just shows how cis men just ruled the world and they never thought about anyone else.
When it's Dasai, you worship a female goddess. So how is it, I find it ironic how you do that and then but then you treat the females around you like the completely opposite way and they can't celebrate the festivities. So how do you guys feel about that?
I think I think it's very, very hypocritical. I don't even think it's ironic at this point. I think it's hypocrisy, and but it's also a lot of of interpretation and reinterpretation of things passed down through generation and generation, and convenience of interpretation. This is something that Patuko focuses on when we start our conversations with students. Or where do you think these taboos came from? Why did they come from? Why did they come? Why are they still with us? When things are so indoctrinated in society, you stop questioning after a point of time, right? And similarly, like, irrespective of whether you're praying to goddesses but not, like, respecting women and socially outcasting them, a lot of people, I don't even think, look at it as a social outcast, okay? Or look at it as a form of human rights violation or violating someone's dignity. I think it's just taken as a norm. And I think when younger girls especially don't have the opportunity to question it and live with it, I think it becomes very detrimental in their growth also.
So I just think that something as natural as periods should not like stop us from socializing and having fun with our families during Dasai, because it only comes once a year and it's such a special memory for so many of us.
Yeah, women shouldn't stop themselves, and family members, male family members, female family members shouldn't stop other women from celebrating Dasai. But it's the a global pandemic is going on right now, so we hope you are safe and maintaining social distance. Yeah, thanks, guys. I think it's been a great discussion. So, just a reminder for everyone, periods don't stop for the pandemics, but Dasai should really be reconsidered during the pandemic.